At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Central Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 501-244-3667, or visit our website at directserviceoverhead.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
All right, welcome everybody. Shout out to Patreon supporters. Appreciate you guys. Look at you in the highlighted category there. You love to see it. The $8 plus club. Welcome to all you guys in the highlighted green and to all Patreon supporters. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's do this. Dan Enos returns to Fayetteville. 3, 2, 1. Yo, what's going on? What's up? As you can tell, I'm not gonna lie. Where's my beanie at? I know I've got a beanie in here somewhere. I just threw this shirt on. I like ran into the bathroom. I had my torn up. You know, everyone's got the Holy shirt. I've got like 2 Holy shirts. My wife hates them both. They're both my Boston Celtics shirts. I didn't realize it till after I hit live, and I pull up OBS. Or I'm looking at the image, the video, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm wearing my Holy shirt. So I ran in there and I threw this on really quick. So I'm just all sorts of a mess. Just a hot, flaming mess. That's what I am today, this fine Friday morning. I hope you guys I hope you had a great week. Hope you've had a great week. Arkansas, big game. Boy, I tell you, these next 2 games are absolutely huge for Arkansas. They're both in Bud Walton. SEC matchups, Ole Miss and LSU. Arkansas should be favored in both of them and should win both of them and need to win both of them. Cannot split these. You can't. 1-5 historically. Someone tell me I'm wrong. I don't think Arkansas has ever made the tournament when starting out 1-5 in conference play. It's hard to do anywhere. And it's hard to do these days because the SEC, the quality of opponents are much better. The quality of talent on the floor is the best that it's been in probably, some would argue, years. Arkansas cannot afford to start off 1-6 or whatever. So, all right. Yeah. We have a poll up. If you're just joining us, I threw that poll up, and I'm a little surprised. Is Dan Enos an upgraded OC for Arkansas? So far, 80% of you say yes over Kendall Briles. 20% of you are indifferent. I hope I spelled that right. Again, that was like I just sat down, typed it out really quick, and then just threw it up there for you. But in just 2 minutes, you guys we're already over 25 votes. So go take the poll. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Yeah, basketball. We do want to talk a little bit about basketball. I know all the attention right now is on it's on what's going on with the offense coordinator situation. What unfolded. At first, it seemed like science fiction. There's no way this guy's going to leave for TCU. And then it actually happened. I mean, yeah, I think listen, that Twitter account, I forgot the name of it, some TCU podcast or something. You know, there's a million podcasts per team, some with a lot of followers who are absolutely, no one really gives a shit. Everything they say is just speculation. Then you've got these little 5,000, 6,000 sub podcasts that when they give you, and I'm talking about like the insider info people, right? A lot of people out there. They deserve the credit. Again, I wish I could remember their damn names. Someone knows, please give them a shout out in our chat. Yeah, how about direct service overhead? You guys need repairs done on your garage door. Someone reached out to, actually in our live chat, I think it was Cade. I know it was Cade. Cade had work done, and I think it was his parents. They used direct service overhead. We've had one other person too that I know of that's at least reached out to me and has used the service. And I know several more have, but they offer 24/7 emergency service, 365 days a year, any day of the week. Any day of the week, they'll come out if you need emergency service done. Maybe maybe your cat gets hung up in the garage door, the little pulley system. I've actually heard of that happening. But if you need work done, they offer quality parts, affordable outcomes, free estimates. Give them a call today, 501-244-3667. That's direct service overhead, the garage door company. Apex Tattoo Studio. Hey, listen, these tap out sessions are pretty cool. It's normally, I think, a $1,200 session. If you mention Tuss Talk with Ty, they'll do it for lower. Again, that's Apex Tattoo Studio. Just mention myself or the show. It doesn't really matter, but they'll hit you up with a discount simply for mentioning the name of the show. And again, that is Apex Tattoo Studio. I was gonna pull up the tattoo. My wife is gonna get a tattoo, and I was gonna show you what it was. But we're gonna go to Apex. It's really cute. My wife is really into bees, and it's not letting me. But anyways, I don't know if you guys could see it, but my daughter drew that. My wife told her something small and simple. It's two little bees with E plus A, which is our daughters, Ellie and Addie. But yeah, they're gonna do that. We're gonna go to Apex Tattoo Studio. Their new location's at 201 South 19th Street, Rogers, Arkansas. That is the new address. And of course, our most recent sponsor, the Odd Soul craft bar, pizzeria, IPAs on tap, you name it, delicious pies, located on Emma Street. One day they're going to be done with this construction on Emma Street. For you folks who are like me and who go up and down Emma Street daily, I got to go up and down that road twice a day. Maybe one day in the near future they'll finally finish that damn road, but they're still open. Odd Soul's still there, and they're popping, man. That place is, I'm telling you, they're popping. That place always seems to be pretty busy, and delicious pies, wonderful stuff on tap. All right, so we are keeping up with the poll here. We've gone up in votes. 76% of you still saying yes that Dan Enos is an upgrade. 77% of you believe it's an upgrade. Indifferent. Absolutely nobody says no. Not a single person has said no yet. That's also a little bit surprising. Hey, Ty, my dad passed away. Oh, Grant. I hate to hear that, man. Grant, I am so sorry for your loss. It's never easy. Thoughts and prayers, buddy. Hope you and your family heal. I mean, that's rough. I hate to hear that, Grant. The man actually wants to be here, so that's an upgrade. Well, yeah, there is. I mean, sure, you can look at it from that point of view, but I'm talking about. I mean, that is true, but I'm talking about just the on-the-field product. Do you think it's going to be better in 2023 than it was in the previous 3 years? Looking forward to some long team commitment to us Hogs by the new returning offensive coordinator. Yeah, this is, you talk about two career-defining hires. You had to make them both. You had to make them both going into your fourth year as a brand new head coach, right? For Sam Pitt, I say brand new. I mean, this is his first coaching gig, and in year 4, he's got to make not one but two huge changes to his staff. I mean, that's big. That's big. And yeah, it does happen at other places, sure, but I don't know how often in Power 5 football where you have to replace both. I don't know how often that's really happened. Unless you just obviously have a head coaching change, right? But I'm talking about with the same head coach to have to change both the offensive and defensive coordinators in the same offseason, that is tough. TCU isn't happy with the Bryles hire. We all knew there was some of that when he was brought here. There was a little bit of that. There was the stuff that happened at Baylor, between he and his dad and the comments that he made about the girls on campus. I don't know if that was if he had. I think he had actually said that. I don't know if he really did. I'm sure maybe. It sounds like he did say it, but again, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. I don't know if that was like testimony or like if we heard that through. I really don't recall how much of what was really happening at Baylor. I remember some of it turned out to be, at the very least, needed to be. Well, all of it needs to be questioned. I mean, you always have to question things, right? But some of that stuff that happened, I mean, for Baylor, what happened at Baylor was tragic. But at the same time, I'm not going to go too deep in it because I don't recall everything. But we knew him going back to Texas. We knew that him going back to Texas, going back to the state of Texas, this was going to come up. This was going to happen. It wasn't going to work. You know, people are going to drum this sort of stuff up. They kept calling it getting Shiano'd, getting Shiano'd, except this is, you know, there's some validity to what happened with Art and Baylor. Again, I'm not going to go too deep in on it because I don't remember everything. I don't recall anything. Please don't take what I say as take it with a grain of salt when we're talking about that stuff with Baylor and Kendall and Art Briles. What I do know is that everyone and their cat knew this was going to happen. This was TCU was going to get, you know, they were going to get a little touchy over it. Folks in Texas, if you're on their bad side, I mean, I don't know. Ask Brett Bielema when he made that comment just about high school football, talking to a bunch of high school football coaches, and the comments that he made, boy, they didn't let him forget it. All of a sudden, he had this negative aura around him once Arkansas went into the state of Texas to try to recruit certain areas. That's just a state that doesn't forget things. TCU is and listen, do they have a right to talk about what they're talking about? Sure, they have a right to discuss it and to bring it up. Absolutely. How much of it is just fans not being happy with the hire because TCU fans, now that they've made a playoff run, now that they've played for a national title, now they feel like they should be able to go out and hire anybody they want, and maybe Kendall is a step down to them. How much of it is that? I've seen some of the stuff that they're tweeting. I've seen some of the stuff the TCU fans are tweeting, and some of them don't. They have. It's like they did absolutely no research on what happened, and that they were just mostly upset with the hire, not so much of what happened at Baylor. You know, they kind of put up a front. How much of it is that? I don't know, and how much of it is really they don't want him there because because of the stuff that happened at Baylor. I'm moved on. Look. I really didn't want to even talk about any of that, to be honest. It's just like, all right, see you. Bye. So long. Talking about Arkansas, right? We're going to get to that in just a second. We're going to talk about Dan Enos in Arkansas in just a second. Let me read your comments. I know there's going to be a lot of stuff about KB and TC. I'm going to be real with you, though. I'm going to try not to interact with some of it because I'm over it. Like, whatever. TCU's going to have to deal with it. He's their problem now. Let them deal with it. You spelled indifferent right. Well, thank you, John. I did that in a hurry, sir. I figured you'd be the first one to correct me if I did spell it wrong. Went back and watched 2015, 2016 highlights. Ton of tight end usage in formation with play action. Yeah, and he's evolved his game a little bit. I've been watching Maryland film. I say film. That sounds so. I've been watching Maryland film. Look at me. I went and watched some YouTube videos like you probably did. And was impressed with a little bit of how they operate. Some of it looked familiar, a lot of pistol formation, right? A lot more rollouts. Obviously, he's adapted the RPO. Oh man, see there I go again. I'm skipping ahead. I want to save that talk. But man actually wants to be here. Looking forward to some. I already read that. Lost my dad 21 years ago and still get depressed around. Man, that's rough. Around the time you pass, it'll always be hard, but surround yourself with supportive friends and family. Yeah, Will's right about that. Losing a loved one's tough, man. I mean, I don't talk about it often. I did lose my mom when I was 8 years old on Christmas morning. That's a true story. And Christmas was always rough growing up. I remember the following Christmas, my parents were not real big on getting me like video. Like if Arky 56 were here, he would tell you He wasn't big on video games. They like the fact that I ever owned an NES. I'm sure that was my mom's idea when I was like 5. My dad was so anti like gaming. He wasn't a fan of it. That following Christmas, he got me a Sega Genesis, and I'll never forget that because I knew that was whoa. What is this? So Christmas was always growing up was kind of weird. People kind of treat you, you lost your mom on Christmas. And as you get older, it's like, yeah, okay, I did. But, I was 8. That's been 31 years ago. And it's still kind of, I don't talk about it a lot. Hell, I had friends for years that had no idea that I lost my mom when I was 8 or that I lost her on Christmas morning. It's tough, man. It's really tough. And on top of that, when you don't have people who can relate, when you don't have no one, like growing up, I didn't know very many kids that had lost their parents. Not saying I was unique in any way, but I definitely didn't have anyone around me that knew what that was like. But, then you see kids with like parents who divorced. I always felt so bad for those kids, man. Like the divorce, oh man, I always hated that for them. Arky 56 never remarried. Dad never remarried, so I never, so it's tough. That's tough, man. But I had a good childhood though. I really did. Thank God I grew up in a neighborhood with a fun, very alive neighborhood. Shout out to Custer Street Kids in Fayetteville, baby. I'm gonna get that tattoo. I think that's gonna be my first tattoo in Apex Tattoo Studio. I'm gonna get the tattoo of my street sign that I grew up on in Fayetteville. Custer Street, baby. KJ isn't going anywhere, so I guess that's a conversation that you guys are having. I never say never, but yeah, I'm definitely leaning towards him coming back. Mike and them says, thanks, Coach Briles. I liked you. Hoped you get thumped in the Big 12. How's he going to work with Chandler Morris? That's going to be fascinating, isn't it? I'm looking forward to a new offensive scheme. Briles plays were getting predictable, says Predictor Bibulus. Is it Bibulus? Predictor Bibulus? What's up, Zach? How you doing, man? Glad I caught you live. Zachary Hall, how you doing, sir? I got to disagree with you on the snow thing, man. I'm big on snow. I love the snow. I do. I love snow because we don't get it as often. And yeah, when growing up in growing up in Fayetteville, it felt like snow was just a normal, expected thing. And then it became more and more rare. And now it's like when we get snow, yeah, it is a childhood thing. It is. I'll admit it is. When I see that, I think of Fayetteville covered in snow, and it just kind of takes me back. It was something that was expected. I can also remember going to school with snow on the ground. Now, if it like rains heavy, they damn near cancel school. That's always a bummer. I like Briles and was fine with him staying after the Mississippi State interest. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, Chris. We got a lot to talk about there. Briles did it. Briles. Someone in my house? The hell was that? Okay. Well, hopefully I'm not, sounds like someone's like in my backyard messing around with stuff. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, if I suddenly go offline, I don't know. I'll make sure to send for help in Discord. That was really, I don't know if y'all heard that, but it sounded like it was like right outside my window. Where were we? Film is film, Ty. Oh, okay. But people say that like it brings some kind of, look at me studying film. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's just not me. I watched video. I watched YouTube videos, John. Like you. KJ isn't leaving. A lot of KJ isn't leaving comments. Where are we at on the poll here? We're still at 76%. Or now 75. We've got 5% folks believe that it is not an upgrade. That Kendall Briles leaving or Danny Enos coming in is not an upgrade. So we've got someone that thinks that it's not an upgrade. Indifferent is at second place here. All the former Razorback players love the Enos hire. You know, I know people, listen, there were a lot of players that were really big on John L. Smith. Okay, there are a lot of people that were big on, a lot of former players big on John L. Smith. I don't put a lot into, listen, it is good to hear former players talk positively about a former coach. Yes, that's all. You want to hear that more than, God, I hated the guy. Sure, I agree with that. I just don't put a lot into that. You know what I mean? I just don't put a lot into that. I don't put all my eggs in that basket. It's like, oh, okay, cool. You know, sometimes it's just, it seems like it's rare to ever hear a former player talk really negative. Not saying it doesn't happen, because it damn sure happens, but it's rare. It just doesn't seem like to be a very common thing. Trying to hurry up here. Let's read down. I don't know what Little Rock 2517 said, but all of his messages, all your words got scratched. Zach says, I do not like snow, but I like you. We'll just agree to disagree. I hear you, Zach. We still got to have lunch, my guy. We got to have lunch. We're about to watch a break-in. I don't know what that was. That was really loud and right outside my window. I don't know what that was. Our gate is locked, I think. I'm going to get swatted. Ty getting swatted. I hope not. And then, like, after that, it sounded like someone kind of was rubbing their hand on it was weird. BA was horrible year one. You guys are going to just watch me pull out my gat. Like, what you doing? And get shot and killed on, I shouldn't say that. YouTube might take the stream down. People were ready for him to leave when he left. All right, kind of caught up on a lot of this. Kopesky says it's always best to talk about tragedies and then keep them bottled up. Makes you a stronger person. Yeah, I mean, I if you're talking about the situation with losing a parent, I mean, yeah, that was rough. It was hard as a kid. But you just, fortunately, and I hate to say this sounds morbid, and I don't mean for this to sound the way it's going to come off. I think it was harder on my older brother and sister who were, how old was my sister? She would have been in her early 20s. My brother, his late teens, I think. No. No, they both were in their 20s. I was 8. Yeah, they definitely both would have been in their 20s. It was probably much harder on Rob and Tammy, on my older brother and sister. I know it was. Than for me, who was 8. They grew up with her, and all that. I've always looked at it kind of like that. Like, man, that must have been. It was hard. Yeah, of course, you miss your mom, of course. But I think we've all, especially now, I'm coming up on my 40s. I think we've all dealt with stuff, right? Life is hard, man. It's really hard. It's always hard to lose a parent. It's always hard to lose a loved one. Of course, my dad losing his wife. They were married how long? 9 years, 8 years at the time. BA was hurt a lot year one. Yeah, BA had a lot to deal with. And, he had Jim Chaney. He had Jim Chaney for 2 years. And Chaney saw the writing on the wall after year 2. They didn't offer him an extension after offering everybody else an extension. And that was it. Hornsby is a skill player. Hang on. This fan is so noisy. All right, so let's get into this basketball game really quick. We'll start there. You guys, I get caught up in your chat drama sometimes, and it throws me off a little bit. Let's talk about this game really quick. Arkansas taking on Ole Miss. Yeah, Ole Miss is the worst team in the league. I think you could argue they're one of the worst Power 5 teams, one of the worst Power 5 basketball programs right now. They're 9-9, 1-5 in conference. If you lose this game, guys, I'm sorry. There's no rebound. There's no way you rebound from this, right? Right? I mean, maybe that's a little bit of an overreaction. Listen, with this kind of officiating, anything's possible. Anything is possible now. I mean, the more light that's being shed on that game, I knew when I went live on that post game, I had people texting me. I had several text messages. That's the most fiery I think I've seen you in a while, stuff like that. I could tell you were pissed. Someone asked me if they thought, like, did you think afterwards, did you overreact? And I said, you know what? At first, I went to my wife and I said, I think I may have said some things that I regret. And I did after I told a Mizzou player something about cleaning off poop swastikas off their campus that turned out to be a hoax, I think. But I made some comments. I should apologize for that. I definitely a lot of emotions in that post-game show. There were. I'm not going to deny it. But it was compounded with the fact, not that you had lost on the road to Mizzou. That's always a tough place to play at. They're pretty good at home, and they're a salty team. Maybe they're a tournament team. I feel like they're going to end up being a low-seeded team. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Missouri really is a pretty decent basketball team. Maybe they should be in that top 4 category in the SEC. I don't think so. Maybe they should be, though. Maybe we'll all be proven wrong. Right now, I think a lot of us feel like, yeah, Missouri they really lucked out. And the more I looked at it, the more I've listened to other people discuss the subject, I really do think Arkansas lost. I don't always put anything on 100% either players or coach or officiating or coaching. This felt like 70% because of officiating. I don't know that I've ever said that. And I feel like this has become a normal thing now. Musselman said it best. He's getting tired of talking about it. They can put in for tape. They can send tape off to the the SEC offices and discuss what happened and kind of create maybe kind of a dialogue there. Well, it turned out the SEC went back and overturned something. I don't have it pulled up because a big part of me did not even want to talk about what happened because I'm still pissed about it. I'm still mad about it. I don't want to go on a 15-minute rant about just how bad officiating is. I think it is bad across college basketball. I mean, if you watch enough NBA and then you watch college basketball, and yeah, the NBA, it's not like they can't get ridiculous. Officiating anywhere on any level, high school, hell, junior high. My 8 or my 10-year-old in her girls basketball team, they like some games they call traveling every possession because it happens every possession because they're 10, and then sometimes they just let them play and they understand that they're 10. It can happen from any age. It just seems like in the SEC and in college basketball, it's become the topic. We're sitting here still talking about it. So no, and I told my wife, I don't think I was overreacting on the officiating part. I might have overreacted at telling someone they need to go clean up some shit off their walls, off their college dorm rooms or whatever the hell was happening during whatever. But I'm not going down that. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But Mizzou's a shit school. I wasn't mad that they lost. I was mad in which the way that they lost that game and how many interruptions. I listened to Chuck Barrett this morning talking about it, about the visits to the table, to the media table, whatever it is, and they're looking at their tablet or to review the play. And you can hear the frustration in Chuck's voice talking about it. Tommy Kraft, of all people, who by the way is an official, was talking about the officiating. Anyone everywhere, and it's not to say that it should be the topic of conversation as often as it has been, but that's more of a reflection of SEC officiating than it is anything else. If Arkansas had lost and maybe there's some sus calls, whatever, you lost the game. And you know what? There's also another good argument to be made that, play well enough and you won't have to deal with bad officiating. Play well enough. And that's hard to do when the officiating is as bad as it is. So even while I agree with that, and I do agree with that, play well enough that you don't have to deal with the whistles, where you don't have to deal with the officiating in this conference. But then what do you do when the officiating is so atrocious they don't even give you a chance? And that's what the Missouri game was. And I have to say, and I feel like I've said this now already once this year, and I'm going to have to say it again, that was the worst officiated college game. But listen, strap yourselves in because I wouldn't shock me at all if we see something worse than what we saw against Missouri the other night. Nothing surprises me anymore in covering college athletics, whether we're talking recruiting, coaching changes, the on-the-field, off-the-field antics, or officiating. Nothing surprises me anymore. And the SEC's got to clean its act up, and we need some transparency. I like that they went back and that the SEC and that, of course, Hunter Yurchek and Eric Musselman signed off on it, I'm sure, sent the tape off, whatever, said, hey, you need to review this. That used to be the saying, right? They don't actually send a tape off. They probably just say, hey, pull up the game, go to this minute on your computer, go to this certain play, what happened, and you tell us what you think. And that's probably how that went down. You say send the tape in. I don't know why I say that, but I just it's fun to say. I don't know. But it's sad that it's such officiating will always be a topic of conversation. It's just the fact that how often we have to talk about it. How it seems like it's all the time. I try not to. In Discord, we get people who are like, oh, that was a bogus foul call. No, actually, that was a good call. Sometimes there are calls that go their way or go your way. Sometimes they don't go your way. Sometimes they, it just kind of is what it is on the floor. What happens, happens. And some of that stuff, some of the officiating, it's unavoidable. Again, the SEC needs to be transparent. They need to open this thing up and say, all right, we're going to do a review of officiating. Enough of these teams. It's not the fans, but it's enough of these teams, the coaches, the athletic directors have come together and said, all right, we need to provide you with some transparency and start to work on. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the solution is, but whatever it is they think it needs to be, they need to take that step in going in a better, more improved direction when it comes to officiating. Because what happened against Mizzou was inexcusable. I mean, that game went on for too long. A lot of just ticky tack. It wasn't even just the tacky foul calls. It was the visits to the. We don't call it the booth, but it was the visits over to the table to review the play. In the final minutes, you want that. Absolutely. In the final 2.5 minutes, I don't have a problem with that. You've got to get those calls right. But we're seeing that sort of stuff take too long in the first half, in the beginning of the second half. It seems like it's become more about the guys in the zebra outfits than the young men and the coaches. It feels like the young men on the floor are kind of pushed to the side. Hold on, we've got to call every damn foul that we see, and also including fouls that were flops, and we're going to miss those calls, and it's a circus show. It needs to improve, and I would argue it needs to improve greatly. It needs to be a huge step, and I don't know that we'll ever see it. If they haven't done it by now, I don't know that there ever will be any fixes made by the conference, but in the NCAA, whoever needs to get involved, it needs to happen. Moving on. Arkansas should thump Ole Miss. Arkansas should, I would predict something like a 14, 16 point, maybe more of this should be a complete bashing. Ole Miss is just a really bad team. They're just not very good. They've got losses that include they did beat Stanford earlier in the year 72-68, but they lost to Oklahoma 59-55. They went on the road and I seem to remember watching some of that game with Memphis, but Memphis ended up winning 68-57. And now they're on they went on a hell of a losing streak. They lost to North Alabama that then set off a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game losing streak, including losses to Auburn at home and Georgia at home, 82-73 against Auburn, and then 62-58 against Georgia. They did beat South Carolina 70-58. There's an argument to be made that South Carolina is not a very good basketball team, but yeah, they did win on the road there. But I think that was probably the battle of the bottom 4 schools in this conference. Is Arkansas, when you're talking about power polls, right? Not talking about standings. Yeah, Arkansas's bottom 2. Or bottom 4, whatever, because they're 1 and 5. Are they is that what they are as a team? No. I think their ceiling is still. I think it's still top 4, top 5. Now, we're talking about Nick Smith Jr. That's in the title. We're talking about Nick Smith. He's back at practice. If anyone hasn't heard, Nick Smith is back at practice. Now, to what capacity? We don't know. We're expecting an update from Musselman soon. The next time he talks with the media, we're going to find out what's going on with him. I don't think just because he's back this week that practicing that means we're going to see him at all against Ole Miss. At this point, I'd be surprised if he played against Ole Miss. I do feel a lot better about him coming back in February. That's for damn sure. A lot of you, not you guys in general here in chat, but a lot of fans on Twitter said he was done. Well, he's clearly making an attempt to play. He's at least making an attempt to play. And, man, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, Arkansas is in a position right now where they drastically, desperately need Nick Smith. He's going to provide you. He's a 3-level scorer. He's a guy that teams are going to have to focus on. You gotta feel like he's better when you're talking about ball handling skills. I don't trust anybody to bring that ball over half court. I don't trust anybody. The full court pressure in the zone defense keeps me up at night thinking about Arkansas basketball. They don't have someone who you feel confident about bringing that ball out, and then Devo, who will just try to drive a lane and score. You feel like either one of 3 things are going to happen. He's going to make a pull-up jumper. or he's going to have a poor shot selection out in the perimeter, and yet he's been making them lately. He's been knocking down some threes, or he's just going to turn the ball over. That's one of the three. It's not a good. It's very rarely is it a good pass. It seems like more times than not, it's one of those other three things. Devo makes me nervous. Anthony Black makes me nervous now. I don't know who to trust. Ricky Council, has had moments or games, I should say, where it's like, all right, he's got the ball skills. His ball handling is fine. Okay. And then he'll have a game where he has several turnovers and he's just making kind of dumb passes and just off the wall stuff. There's no one that you really feel a lot of trust in anymore. I don't know why that is. I think some of it is AB and Devo are trying to do too much. Nick Smith will help alleviate some of that. And that's why it's big to bring him back. And he's a 3-level. He could score at any level. We know what he's capable of. And you feel like, too, it might bring back a little bit more of the living above the rim stuff because, again, there's going to be interest in trying to figure out how to defend Nick Smith. You may see him, if he does, again, I'm assuming now, like I said, I'm feeling better about him coming back in February. If he does play, that's going to bring quite a bit more attention on him. That might stretch things out on the floor. And if he can get it going right out the gate, I don't see that happening. But if he can get it going, whatever Muss chooses to do with him in terms of minutes on the floor, and if he can get it going sooner than later, you're going to see a lot of different. You're going to see defenses start to kind of scramble to figure out how to slow down and to temper Nick Smith Jr. That's going to open up more opportunities for guys on the floor. That's going to open up guys underneath a little bit more. That's going to spread them out. That zone all of a sudden probably still effective, but maybe not as effective. Arkansas doesn't have enough three-point guys. They don't have enough guys living out on the perimeter that can knock down the three ball. Do you feel confident moving on from this point on that Devo's going to be your three ball guy? If he is, you've got a problem. I think he's made some shots. God bless him. He has made some shots. Thank you, Lord. He is finding a way out in the perimeter. He's making shots. Terrific on and off the ball defender. But when Devo is your guy, you have a problem on the offensive end of the floor. Hopefully, again, Nick Smith will help alleviate some of that. Arkansas basketball has got to get it going sooner than later. I feel that way. I really do. Yeah, again, I wish you guys would at one another because I don't know who's talking at me, and I don't know if you guys are carrying on a conversation. Or if you're talking to me, just include my name. There you go. If you're talking to me, you can at Tuss Talk with Ty, and it should come up highlighted for you or for me. That way I can catch it. Or, Super Chat. It is always available. Kingsley, inconsistency is what's annoying me. It feels we're getting officiated differently from our opponents. I don't know, but if I had to guess, that's why Muss has calmed down on the sidelines. I think Arkansas has there's kind of a stigma to Arkansas basketball right now. I think they might really be the bad boys. It's just not to the opponents. It's to the fans in the seats, and it's to the officials. And I think that reputation is spread. I think teams are blowing the whistle sooner than later. I think they're preventative whistles. I think they're trying to calm things down before anything happens, and that's what's leading to this just even worse officiating for Arkansas. They've kind of dug their own hole maybe. Maybe that's what's going on here. Again, that would be a really good question to ask someone like Tommy Kraft, who officiates, right? He officiates high school sports. That'd be a really good question to ask Tommy Kraft. Do teams who catch reputations, is that something that's on your mind? I'm sure it is, but is that something on your mind, and how do you approach those games individually? And I think Arkansas has a reputation, and they're living up to it, and the officials are blowing the whistle. And that's not making an excuse for the officiating. The officiating is what it is. It's atrocious. It's already bad. I wouldn't say it's really bad, and now it's atrocious because of these preventative whistles. What's up, Paul Raymond? How you doing, man? Where are we at on the poll? Let's look. Arkansas 67. I'm sorry. Dan Enos at 67%. Yes, that he is the upgrade. 11% of you say no, it's not an upgrade, and 22% of you are indifferent. Again, if you haven't taken the poll, please do so. If you're new here, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Shout out to Patreon supporters. Woo woo. Look at that. Yeah, baby. Patreon supporters, you guys are rock stars. Rock stars. Patreon supporters. Tuss Talk with Ty. Maybe I should do the intros when you listen to the radio. Chuck Barrett, Tommy Kraft, and Ty Richardson. Josh Bertaccini. Or I should just make my own. You got defensive for me saying, okay, no, you guys are still carrying on. BA had a top 5 performance in 2015 with he did. In 2015 offensively, you could put that up there with Petrino-esque type off. I mean, it was incredible. Just talking about the numbers. Yeah. I wish I could highlight this comment. Hope he isn't getting swatted. Ty's probably still in his underwear. Well, to be clear, I am wearing nothing from the waist down. So I'm just kidding. I'm wearing pants. I've got pants on. I don't think we've polled everyone. Yeah, again, you guys carrying on. For tight ends, we have Ty Washington. Okay. Enos is the man. Crazy he coached Tua, Mac Jones, and Jalen Hurts. Enos will shock you, says Paul Raymond. Yeah, just make sure if you're talking to me, I guess at me. For now, I'm just gonna you guys are carrying on. Okay, so let's get into the whatever was outside my house is not making any more sound. So let's just hope. If you see like a red dot appear on my face, just let me know. All right, Dan Enos is back. Oh, and yeah, by the way, I'm like I said, I'm taking Arkansas. I'm taking Arkansas tomorrow. By I don't know, God, I think it's gonna be a blowout. I really think they're looking for revenge, not revenge, but they need that oomph. You know, Muss knows it. The guys, the roster sheet is very well aware of what needs to happen in this game. You got Bud Walton. I love the time of this game, by the way. You guys hear me gripe about that quite a bit. Really thrilled that this is an 11 a.m. I'm not kidding. I love that this is 11 a.m. tip-off. It means post game and everything will be done. Lunch is going to kind of suck. I'm going to have to eat like an early lunch, or I might have to eat at halftime or something. But regardless, I love 11 a.m. Saturday tip-offs, man. I get to watch more basketball. Like, I'm all about it, dude. Love that tip-off. Arkansas is favored 86.5% according to the basketball. They don't call it that anymore. They don't call it the BPI. They just call it the matchup predictor. But, yeah. I don't know how – here's another question. This should be a lot of people there, right? Have Hog fans kind of let go of the rope? Or are fans still showing up just to see a spectacle? You know, because they know, like, Ricky Council can provide a show. Anthony Black can provide a show. They're going to they're on a losing streak. Have some fans I know a lot of you, I'm seeing the hashtag, like, ready for baseball. And I've seen that in our Discord. I've seen it in the live chats. Have fans let go of the rope? If you had a ticket, would you go tomorrow? If I had a ticket, well, if I didn't have to cover the game, I would probably go. I probably would. I'm still excited. Like I think the ceiling of this team, even without Nick Smith, is still pretty high. Right now, I don't have him in the tournament. I've taken him out. I know we had people that said, "Oh, I disagree with Ty on that, on them not making the tournament." Listen, right now, I have him out, but I certainly think they can get back in. I certainly think they can. I think they can get back in without Nick Smith, but you can't lose these next 2 games. And we'll see what happens against Baylor on the road. Right now, yeah, I would anticipate probably a loss. Right now, I just don't like the way Arkansas plays away from Bud Walton Arena right now. Earlier in the year, when they're a little bit more healthy, yeah, they could beat some teams. They could play pretty well. They weren't as, you talk about going overseas. You talk about what they were able to do at Maui, even though Creighton still kind of lingers. But, now, again, since the two have been completely out, since Brazil and Nick Smith have been out, this has been a different team entirely, especially on the offensive end of the floor. But I think we're seeing steps. We are. I know it doesn't look that way because they're riding a losing streak. They went, again, toe-to-toe with who I think Alabama, and I hate to admit this, they might be the best team in college basketball. They went toe-to-toe with those guys until the final 4.5 minutes, and it just all hell broke loose. Some immaturity kind of reared its head. little bit of lack of discipline on the defensive side of the ball. A couple of just, what they make 2-3 in a row threes, I think it was. Something just should not have happened. And I think had those things not happened, you don't get blown out. You're at least making a more interesting game. But for 80% of that game, that was a ball game. Arkansas went toe-to-toe with Alabama without those two big pieces on the floor. It was at home, and that is true. I think, boy, they really better hope they've got it turned around when they go on the road to play at Bama. But I think we are seeing here and there, like look at the free throw shooting on the road. Did you hear how loud Mizzou? I have never once talked shit about their fans inside that arena. They get loud. That is not an easy place for anyone to play. And yet Arkansas shot, 80-something%? Are you kidding me? Look at the rebounding. Offensive rebounding has not been a huge issue for this team this year. It's like they just can't put together. It's almost like when we talk about football. Man, they just can't put together a full game. For Arkansas, it's like they can't do all the things, they can't put it all in one box. They'll do one or two things that they haven't done so well at all year. They'll do those two things really damn good, and then they'll drop on some of these other categories when you're talking about just the analytics, the stats. If they bring it all together, if they find the cohesiveness, I think they can get this thing turned around. And then we're talking about, okay, now let's start talking about seeding. Yeah, right now I don't have them in. And you guys are more than welcome. Don't ever apologize for disagreeing with me. Just right now, I wouldn't have them in. If you wanted to put out a power poll, I would say I'd put Arkansas at the back of the middle. But if you wanted to talk about just like talent on the floor and the possibilities, Arkansas's got to be one of the top 4 teams. At full strength, they're one of the top 2, top 3 teams in the SEC. Right now, they're probably top 5. If you're talking about just talent on the floor and what they're capable of doing, top 5, I think that's a pretty good spot. With a healthy Nick Smith, that could change things. I mean, it really can. He's not the end-all, be-all. Again, it might even be a slow transition. But you don't have Nick Smith. I don't expect him at all to play against Ole Miss. I would be shocked at this moment if he played. But Arkansas should just blow the doors off the hinges. Okay, let's get into Dan Enos. Sorry, I spent more time on basketball than I meant to. 2015 is the year that everyone goes back to in the Dan Enos. When you look at year-by-year, case-by-case scenarios. One of the things that I saw watching Maryland film, YouTube videos, still running out of the pistol, and a lot of the quarterback moving and flowing outside the box. A lot of that stuff by design. A lot of rollouts being called with Tagovailoa. I always have to say Tua Tagovailoa to say that last name right. I know it's his younger brother, but Tagovailoa. It just doesn't roll off the tongue as natural. You got to say it over and over. But a lot of rollout stuff, a lot of stuff out of the pistol formation. Again, didn't watch a ton of film, haven't really had that kind of time, but watched a little bit, watched some highlights. I've had several of you send me YouTube clips. I appreciate that. Really. The highlights are always the highlights. They always look really good. When you look at the individual numbers, they were not very good on offense in 2022. They were, let me pull it up. I mean, you have to talk with the good and the bad. I mean, if I'm going to be honest with you right now, well, let's look at the numbers first. Total offense, they finished 55th in the country. That's pretty far behind Arkansas, and that's in the Big Ten. We're not talking about we're not talking about Big 12. We're not talking about the ACC. We're not talking about the Pac. That is Big Ten. I think pretty highly of the Big Ten. I know a number of you think the Big Ten is shit. I just disagree. I think it's a very strong conference. But they had 5,200 yards. They averaged 401 per game. Again, 55th in the country. Third down offense, they ranked 43rd. Again, Arkansas. I actually forgot where they finished. I know for most of the year they were a top 20, top 15 third down offense. Maryland converted in 2022 41% of the time on third down. Their passing offense ranked 40th. Now, Tagovailoa did throw the ball for 3,000 yards. They ended up throwing as an offense 3,300, almost 3,400 total yards through the air, 21 passing touchdowns. They averaged 260 yards per game through the air. Rushing offense, they finished 82nd in the country. Now, I don't know all the individual. I don't know if they had injuries. I'm not up to date on what really was going on with Maryland. But they averaged 141 yards a game on the ground. So they finished 82nd. Red zone offense, here's the improvement, right? 21st in the country. They were scoring almost 90% of the time they were coming away with points. They had 18 red zone rushing touchdowns and 15 red zone passing touchdowns. 10 field goals were made inside. So actually surprisingly low. I would have guessed with that rank maybe like 15, 16 field goals made inside the 20. But they ended up with 43 total red zone scores. We all know Arkansas, this was a big problem for Arkansas in the red zone. These guys ended up almost 90%. Their scoring offense, again, not much there. They kind of finished just below vanilla. I would say they were below vanilla as an offense. They finished 67th in the country, averaging just 28 points per game. Now, that was last year. Okay, the last 2 years, Tagovailoa has thrown the ball for over 300 yards 11-plus times. I do think this is a kind of higher. It feels like a really good fit for Dan Enos, and for all the obvious reasons. He's been here before. He knows the head coach. I think he might actually have relationships with some of the other staff. I think it was Scott Fountain that I think there was someone else on the staff. Regardless, it doesn't matter. We know that he worked with Sam Pittman. We know that because he did it here for 3 seasons. It feels like a good fit. He knows the area. He knows the recruiting pipelines, right? He knows he has obviously a great relationship with the head coach. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go out and produce 37 points a game. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden the offense is going to be brilliant. But it is a comfort factor, right? When you're talking about the comfortability, it is a comfort factor for both Dan Enos, Sam Pittman, and I would argue the coaching staff, the players, and the fans. So you have that to kind of, all right, okay, we can live with that, right? But then it's like you're coming into a situation. We talked about this, the last time we were live together on a midweek, on a daily show. Arkansas, you're coming in, assuming the transfer portal, which opens back up May 1st, assuming nobody else hits the portal on the offensive side of the ball, you're coming in. It's like reaching into the toolbox and needing the exact, the exact tool that you need for whatever thing you're working on. Maybe you pop the hood on your car and you're doing some work and you blindly reach your hand into the toolbox. You come out with the right piece that you needed, the right tool to whatever you need to do, right? So that's what it feels like. On the surface, yeah, I would argue it's probably a C+ hire. It's not a home run hire. You didn't go out and get the up and coming stud at one of these group of 5 schools. It was averaging 40 points a game or something like that felt like a splash hire. Not necessarily. Doesn't always work out, when you're talking about moving from group of 5 to power 5, especially in the SEC. But you went out and you got a guy that knows what it takes to coach at this level. He's familiar with Fayetteville. He's familiar with the facilities. He's familiar with what's going on here. And again, you've got all these pieces in place. You've got KJ. You've got arguably one of the best backfields maybe in college football. I would dare argue that Rocket Sanders has the resume to be a first or second team All-SEC and maybe even an All-American if he had a few more tutties. Unfortunately, a little shy in that department, but he could be. When you're talking about his ceiling, when you're talking about his capabilities, he's an All-American caliber running back, in my opinion. When he's fully healthy, he's up there. KJ Jefferson, at least an All-Conference, third or second team All-Conference caliber quarterback. You do have pieces you're a little bit concerned about. The offensive line, what are they going to do at each of the tackle spots? What's going on at tight end? These wide receivers that we've talked about that they've gained through the portal are not automatic. These are not proven guys by any stretch of the imagination. Hang on, I'm getting tagged here. Okay. I thought maybe my live chat was down. Or my stream was down. There are things that we can kind of pick. We can cherry pick some of his numbers, and I think they're worth talking about. But man, he's walking into a situation. It just feels like it's ready made for someone like a Dan Enos to walk in and have success year one. We could talk about after that. We can talk about what happens after year one. But I think right now it's important to just focus on what's happening in the here and now. We know that he already got on campus, and he's already visited one of the top recruits in the state for this class, a certain quarterback with the last name White, whose older brother was here, who was a walk-on wide receiver here. So I mean, Arkansas's in, I think, pretty good shape here on the offensive side of the ball. Again, it doesn't blow you away. The hire, I would argue, is not going to all of a sudden, like when, there's real excitement when you look at spring football attendance for the games or for the red-white games. This is not the kind of hire that's going to bring 40, 50,000 people. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. But I do think, I think that this is kind of, I don't want to say a match made in heaven, but boy, it certainly seems like if especially considering the time of year, it's a pretty damn good hire. I mean, again, he's not always been perfect. His offenses, like we just talked about his 2022 numbers at Maryland. He's produced 3,000-yard passers, and I think he's going to help on the cerebral side of the game for KJ Jefferson. I think he's going to help in the mechanics department where maybe Kendall came up a little shy. I give Kendall all the credit in the world for the job that he did. I know now it's throw Kendall completely under the bus. I get that. I'm the kind of guy, those of you who followed me long enough, look, man, you know what? You flirted around too much with the TCU job and the Mississippi State job. Okay, good luck at your next gig. Couldn't be mad. I appreciate what he did here. I appreciate what he did with KJ Jefferson. I think KJ, it was just night and day. Granted, he was a freshman under Chad Morris, but it was night and day compared to where he was at and where he's at now, where he's been and where he's at now. He's a much better quarterback because he played under and he was under the tutelage of Kendall Briles. I watched the guy work with his quarterbacks every time I was at practice. I watched him. I mean, his attention to detail. I mean, you see it now. It's not like I'm a veteran. It's not like I've seen multiple offensive coordinators work with their quarterbacks or quarterback coaches with their quarterbacks, but I saw enough there and listening to some of the other people around me. The guy knows what he's doing. Kendall did a good job with developing KJ Jefferson. Now it's like, here's the other end. Here's what more maybe you're missing that KJ or that Kendall Briles maybe missed on or didn't connect with KJ on. Maybe Dan Enos, maybe he's the quarterback whisperer. I don't know. I certainly feel like this is the direction you would want to go when you're talking about if you had to move on from a Kendall Briles type of OC to the next guy who has years under his belt, who's been an offensive coordinator or a quarterback coach for years. He's had a lot of stops. He's not an upward trend up-and-coming coordinator, right? You had I don't know what the hell happened at Alabama, but he left for Miami, and then what happened at Miami happened at Miami. He found his way eventually to Maryland. He's had kind of an up-and-down career as an offensive coordinator. From an optics point of view, it's not a home run hire if you're just someone from the outside looking in. But if you really pop the hood on this situation, I think this could end up being – we could look back on 2023 and go, holy shit, that actually worked out really well. This was actually a really productive year on the offensive end of the ball. We can talk about the total offense. Look, people love bringing that up. Kendall Briles had a top 20 total offense. Okay. What about his red zone effectiveness and scoring offense? Those are things that we have to talk about. Yeah, Enos was worse at Maryland. He was a few points below. Sure. Okay, point taken, and that's a good argument. I'm talking about more from a technical point of view and what he can do with KJ and how that could affect the rest of the offense. But we can't sit here and talk about Kendall where he was really good in one area, but he was really bad in red zone offense. Well, okay, Enos was way better in red zone effectiveness. Scoring offense took a hit. I don't know why. I can't speak to that. I don't know what happened at Maryland. We'd have to talk to some people in Maryland about that. Some fans or media people and just get their point of view on that. But it's not like Kendall was, it's not like we had Bobby Petrino. Let's just say that coach in the offense. But I do wish that he was here for 4 years. But if you had to segue from Kendall Briles to the next guy, I don't have a problem with it being Dan Enos. I really don't. To me, again, it's probably a C+ outside looking in kind of hire. It's not a blowing the roof or blowing the door off hinges kind of a hire from the outside looking in, looking at it from another point of view. But that's also someone probably who doesn't really know what's going on under the hood in Fayetteville. It feels, again, I'm not going to say match made in heaven. I'm not saying that, but it feels like it could work out really well for Arkansas. And we'll have to wait and see, a lot of things, a lot of variables in that very complicated equation as we get closer and closer to spring and then summer and fall camp. We'll see what happens. Still got the portal. I don't know what to expect out of the portal. I don't see Arkansas losing to Liberty Bibberty. Boy, you guys are on it with each other. I don't even know. See, I'm coming into the middle of this. It feels like a Discord argument where I come in the middle. And I'm like, I don't even want to mess with this. Hog's offense went way down when he was with Bielema. So if you're talking, again, obviously you're talking about Dan Enos, that's not entirely correct. 2015, again, is the year that a lot of people like to go back to because it was a really good year for Arkansas football on the offensive end of the let's pull it up. Let's look at it here. They had over 3,400 yards passing, 2,500 yards rushing. They ended up with over 6,000 total yards of offense. Second most in Arkansas history, and apparently they almost broke the 2010 record. I'm reading this here. Brandon Allen threw for over 400 yards, I think twice that season in 2015. 2015 is often what fans go to. 2015, 2010, 2011. Those were some great offensive productive years. Now, you lost to Toledo in 2015, 16-12. You lost to Texas Tech 35-24. You lost to A&M 28-21. And you lost to Bama. I mean, I get it. It's Bama. But you lost to Bama 27-14. Remember Mississippi State walked into Fayetteville and Brandon Allen threw for over 400 yards. Again, he did that. No, he did it 3 times. My bad. He did it 3 times. He did it against Ole Miss where you beat Ole Miss 53-52. Brandon Allen had 442 yards. Alex Collins with 108 yards rushing. He was your leading rusher on the day, and then Drew Morgan ended up with 122 yards receiving. And then you did it again against LSU on the road, 31-14. The offense was a little bit more restricted in that game, but speaking well of the 2015 season, you did find a way to win and win pretty handily against LSU on the road. You lost to a really good Mississippi State team, 51-50, and you found a way to clock Missouri, beating them 28-3. And then they went on in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl and beat Kansas State 45-23. Allen threw for 315 yards. That is one of the most productive years in Arkansas history on the offensive side of the ball, and Dan Enos had every bit to do with that. Look at the job that he did with developing Brandon Allen. I mean, it was incredible. He did a really good job, and I always thought BA caught entirely too much heat. The offense under Chaney was, I don't even know how to describe it. It just was very bland. And then Enos kind of comes in. This feels very similar. Only KJ is an established quarterback. Brandon Allen wasn't quite the established quarterback in 2015, the way that KJ is in going into 2023. Now, again, it's not fair to compare seasons, right? You have to look at the roster. You got to look at the depth chart. You got to look at the opponents and the strength of schedule. And that was a tough year, man. I mean, A&M was ranked, Bama was ranked, Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, if I remember right, was really good that year. I get 2015, 2014, 15, and 16 all I get mixed in, blended together. But listen, I mean, that was a very, very, very productive year on the offensive side of the ball for Arkansas. And again, Dan Enos played a major role in that. So I'm not saying you can't go back to 2015 and expect those kind of numbers. You can't expect 2015 numbers again. But it certainly seems like it's in his wheelhouse to make that happen. And he's familiar with everything that we just mentioned. He's familiar with this conference. He's familiar with the program. He's familiar with the area. And he's been here. I mean, you just feel like you kind of know what you're getting here. Does not equate to this being a great hire. Doesn't mean that I think Arkansas offensively is going to roast everybody. It's going to be 2015 all over again, baby. I'm not saying that. But it certainly seems like a strong possibility. I like the hire. I do. I don't know. It's a tough question to ask if it's an upgrade because it's a complicated question because the situation just seems like it's prepped for someone like Dan Enos. Therefore, it could be year one a better fit. And it's also a different fit, right? You're going away from the veer and shoot. You're going away from that offense. And now you're coming into what Dan Enos likes to do. I'm going to watch more of the Maryland film. I liked what I saw. I liked video. I liked what I saw from the Maryland YouTube videos. I think it's not fair to sit here and say 2015 is going to be something great. It's not fair they're going to be able to go back to 2015 to 2016, and it's also not fair to say, well, you saw how 2017 shaked out and so on and so forth, and that's what we should expect. We don't know what we don't know, and so, but it feels like there's a really good possibility that Enos could just walk in, and it just feels tailor-made for him to come in and have success. A veteran quarterback, a coach that's been here for a few years. You feel pretty good about what's going on with the staff. I hope Kennedy doesn't leave. I don't see him leaving, but you just never know. I mean, you never know. And the same thing goes with the transfer portal. It opens back up May 1st. I think it goes from May 1st to May 15th. Anything can happen between now and then. But if everything is as it is right now, moving forward, I just think they're going to take the right step. So I would say, yeah, I think it is an upgrade, all things considered. Side by side, going back, ask yourself this. Going back to 2020, going into that season, would you have wanted Dan Enos or would you have wanted Kendall Briles? I think a lot of people would have voted Kendall Briles. I think they would have. Now, that's maybe I'm wrong, but I think a lot of people probably would. But looking at the situation again with this roster and the depth chart, and there's still room for improvement, of course, on the offensive side of the ball, and there's still question marks about the wide receiver spots. Yeah, I love these receivers. I love these skill guys that they've brought in. But that, again, doesn't mean that they're necessarily, pulling it up here, that they're necessarily going to connect. Who knows if Tesla lives up to the expectations. The expectations are high. They are very high. Make no mistake about it. When he takes the field, everyone's going to be curious what that 6'4.5", 210-pound receiver, what he's up to. They're going to be keeping an eye on him, right? They're going to be watching Joshua Braun. Just reading when you're looking at updates through spring camp, you're going to wonder, is Braun making a push for the two deep, the Florida transfer? What about Andrew Armstrong, the 6'3", 180-pound kid out of Texas A&M Commerce? Wasn't that the school? Right, that's right, Commerce, Texas A&M Commerce. And then you had the 6'7", the most recent transfer portal commit Tyrone Broden, 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", wide receiver out of Bowling Green. But it doesn't mean that all these guys are going to come and connect. What about Isaiah Centennial, who will be a redshirt freshman? Samuel Bakke. You still have a lot of question marks. What the hell is going on at tight end? I wish Trey Knox was coming back because tight ends had some success here under Enos, and that's something else to take note of. So we'll see what happens there. It's looking like right now you're probably going to be relying on some very young players to step up at that position. But everywhere else, man, quarterback, I think the offensive line is going to be fine. Running backs, boy, I think Dan Enos is walking into a hell of a situation. 2016 offense is top 10 and higher in several categories. Oh, I thought 2015. Well, I remember 2016 being really good. 2015 we were 8-5. Let's not get too excited about Enos being the savior. Yeah, so that's we're talking about on the offensive end of the ball, Aries. Yeah, I mean there were a lot of things outside of Enos' control. Enos was the offensive coordinator. He only controlled the offense. He didn't control the entire team. So, I don't know. Check yourself, sir. No one's saying that Enos is here, we're going to go 11-1. No one's saying that. We're just simply saying that the offense should be better. You feel like the offense should take the right step in certain categories. They may take a step back in total offense because they did in between the 20s, from the 25 to the 25, very effective offense. But in the red zone and scoring offense, the Kansas game certainly bumped his numbers up a little bit. Let's be real. KU's a Big 12 football team. They're Big 12. They don't know they can't comprehend what the hell is defense. Although lately, the last couple of years, they have been a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball. KJ don't know how to be a pocket passer. Enos going to force his will on KJ. Well, I mean, I think you're still going to see a lot of rollouts, though, Fishman. I think they're going to have design. I think they're going to have a lot of rollouts. They're going to try and. I think the goal will be for them to work to KJ's strengths on offense, and I think Kendall tried to do that too. Briles can't recruit. Let's see here. Fishman obviously knows nothing about Enos. I was looking at the poll here. We're back. We're still at it here on the poll. 66% of you still believe that this is an upgrade. 66% of you. So the vast majority of you guys agree that this is an upgrade. 12% of you say no. 22% of you are indifferent. Ty was saying don't be too excited. No, you literally were talking about – you were comparing the win-loss record. That's what you were doing, Aries. And we're not talking about the win-loss record, sir. We're talking about the offense. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Who has Bryles signed at quarterback in 3 years? I mean, he's definitely played a role. I don't know. Two studs playing this weekend. All right. Well, anyways, Aries, you can enjoy that timeout, my friend. We're supposed to go forward, not backwards. We know what he's about. Seriously. Yeah, Roy, I feel again. I think it's the right move when you consider what is here. What is here? What's in place for him? I think it's in place for someone like Danny Enos to walk in and have success. Don't forget about Keon Hatcher. Yeah, Hatcher, Dominic Reed, Drew Morgan. Those are very big names in that offense for sure. I mean, Drew Morgan's ability to find a way to get open, one of the best to ever do it. My dad, that's my dad's favorite. Like you talk about any Razorback, he always goes to Drew Morgan. He loved Drew Morgan's just how simple it seemed to be for him to get open. And I think a lot of that might have just been route concepts, right? It might have been Enos drawing up ways to find ways to get someone like that open. Yeah, I mean those are guys that had an impact. But all I'm saying is comparing them to these transfers, a lot of these guys are coming from places that are not, I mean, honestly, off the top of your head, where did Tesla play college ball before he came to Arkansas? Right? Same goes with, you could maybe argue Tyrone Broden, but everyone's pretty familiar with Bowling Green, but it's Bowling Green, right? What about Armstrong? You see, that's what I'm saying. Like, just because we're really high on these kids, it doesn't mean that their game is going to translate at Arkansas. You know, I mean, there's been kids that transferred some big-time schools, and that didn't matter either, right? Drew Morgan was a I can't say that, but yeah. He was great at getting open. I'd never seen someone. He really was. I like to get under my dad's skin about old Arky 56. He's so big on him. I thought he did. I mean, he had good hands and found ways to get to the ball. Enos is set for wide receivers. I hope. I hope so, and I think they're going to be in. I think they're in good shape there. It's just. It's going to be that transition thing that you're worried about a little bit. Hatcher toasted TCU. Yeah, Keon Hatcher had several really big games. Ty, we hired Kurt Anderson after Pittman. Can't blame Enos on that one when the offense went down a little bit. Yeah, Kurt Anderson was pretty bad, and then he went to Northwestern, right, and produced like a first-round draft pick. So I don't know how much of that was on Kurt Anderson. Because I think some of that was just, I don't know. I think maybe it might have just been a mismatch. A lot of those guys really loved playing for Sam Pittman. Maybe they just weren't as thrilled playing for someone like Kurt Anderson. I don't know. Where's Kurt Anderson now? What's he up to these days? I was shocked at how bad that offensive line was. Yeah, I mean, Austin was sacked a lot. Brandon Allen the year before Austin took over, was sacked like 15 times. And then the next year, it was like more than double that for Austin. I always felt so bad for Austin. Drew was a great damn receiver. I did like him. I wouldn't put him in my top 5 of favorite receivers. Boy, that's a list I'd love to sit down and mull over. But I would certainly put him somewhere It's just I'm not going to look at stats. Like too often we only look at stats. I see that when people put these lists together. But just like my personal favorite receivers, he's definitely in my top 10. He was fantastic. I mean, he really was. Just found ways to get open. Is he still at Northwestern? I know he went there. He's not still there. Surely not. Is Kurt Anderson still at Northwestern? Hold up. We're going to Google that. No, there's no way he's still at Northwestern. Kurt Anderson. I'll be damned. First thing that pops up, Kurt Anderson, Northwestern. Is he still there? Holy shit. He is still there. Well, okay, so it feels a lot longer ago. It feels like it when I think 2018, that just seems like such a long time ago. But that's quite a while for an offensive line coach to say, I'll be damned, he is still at Northwestern. Yeah, he's produced, they've had, I think, at least one first-round draft pick since he's been there. I'll be damned. Yeah, he was at Arkansas 2016, 2017. And then 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, he's been there. So he's been there. He's going on 6 seasons. Boy, that is unheard of. Well, I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I think they're doing pretty well. I'm pretty sure he's done a pretty good job at turning their offensive line around. I mean, clearly they like him. He's still there. Drew reminds me of blah, 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 blah. Northwestern's a scrappy football team. Well, yeah. Kind of makes me want to dig into what's going on with their offensive line. If Enos does really well, you can call him Thanos. What? Okay. Oh, look at that. We're getting some folk. Burks, Hamilton. You got Hamilton at number 2. I don't know if I'd put him at number 2. I see why people, obviously Burks, recency bias, and then just overall I think he probably will go down as the greatest receiver ever here. Anthony Lucas at 3rd, Jarius Wright, and then Joe Adams. That's a pretty good list, Marcus. I can't argue with that. I don't know if I'd put Hamilton, I don't know if I'd put Kobe at 2nd. I know he had a great 2012 season. I remember that. I think he broke records. He was really good. I mean, I don't know if I'd put him at number 2. I'd probably put. That's tough. Burks would be number 1. Anthony Lucas at 2. God, who would be 3rd? Jarius Wright, maybe. Greg Childs pre-injury. Greg Childs would be somewhere in that top 5. Boy, that's a man. We might have to just sit down and fill out a list. We might have to do that in Discord or something. All right, let's put it into the polls, and we'll shut this one off. I kind of figured this one would go for an hour plus, and we did exactly that. I appreciate you guys. Let's look at the poll here. Is Dan Enos an upgraded OC for Arkansas? 63% of you. Let's just end the poll. I'm going to give you guys a final second here if you haven't got your vote in. Yeah, Marcus Monk. Josh is on. I know the heat is on with the drama with Marcus Monk, but I think Marcus does deserve to be up near the top. I do. I think Marcus Monk was I thought he was going to do well in the NFL too. I was kind of shocked he didn't have any kind of a career in the NFL. Not much of one, I should say. Anthony Lucas, man, he was fun to watch. Anthony Lucas was something else, man. 129 votes. Can we get 130? Has everyone taken the poll? All right, closing in 3, 2, 1. In the poll. All right. The number should pop up here in just a second. There it is. 62% of you say yes, it's an upgrade. 12% of you say no. 24% of you say indifferent on 129 votes. Screw the Monks. Yeah, I'm just not about that. Whatever. Yeah, I wasn't real thrilled that someone went to Kentucky. Not a fan of that. That sucked. But he said it was a business decision. Whatever. But Mark, you can't deny what Marcus did here. Adams, Jarius Wright, oh boy, Childs. Yeah, it's hard to argue with Adams being up there. Got to be one of the best. Yeah, that was a great time, the Petrino era, for sure. Marcus Monk held a record. I don't know if he did or not. He was effective. I know that much. He was also another one that was really fun to watch. I do appreciate you guys, man. This was a good show. We talked about it all. We dove into some of the numbers a little bit. I'm not saying that we're going to get 2015 in 2023. I'm not saying we're going to get that, but on the surface, I could see where people aren't super pleased with it. Again, there are negatives here. I mean, Enos, he's in kind of a, I don't know. He's not on an upward trend as far as an offensive coordinator, as far as his name is concerned as an OC. He's not on an upward trajectory, right, in his career. But I think going from Maryland to Arkansas is an upgrade. I do. I think it is an upgrade for him. I don't think Kendall going to TCU is an upgrade. I don't care that they were in the playoffs. What matters is when you compare the conferences side by side. But I do think this is a step up for Daniel. So maybe it is an upward trajectory. I don't know. I mean, Maryland did have a good year. They were, 8-5 overall last year. But we're definitely in wait and see mode. It's not a home run hire that we know of yet. It feels like the kind of hire where we may be looking back and going, damn, I mean, it worked out. Beyond year one, after the KJ era has finished, what would the expectations be after that? That's also a very good debate to have. And again, I'm not going to argue with anyone who says that, well, you know what, Ty, he's just kind of his career has been too bumpy, and maybe some of that hangs over, and he underachieves here. Okay, anything can happen. So who knows? But I like it. I do think it's an improvement simply because of the mechanics of the situation. Again, side by side, going into the 2020 season, fans were, super excited. I know because I was in the middle of it all here. Fans are super excited about Kendall Briles. But now you're getting a little bit of you're getting a change on the offensive end of the ball. And maybe, again, who knows what you finish on the season? Who knows what's happening on the defensive side of the ball? It could be an absolute wash of a year. God, it could. But it could also be a pretty special year, too. And Arkansas football fans need it, but don't let that overtake your emotions, right? Don't get fan is short for fanatic. I get it, but sometimes people let it go way too far and take it way too personally. Just fix the defense. Offense will be fine. No, Aries, you're being argumentative, and it's just I don't know what you're adding to the chat. So, nah, I'm not gonna put you in timeout. Definitely didn't put you in timeout for having an opinion. You're just you're not really adding anything, and all you're doing is really stoking the fire in chat, man. That's all you're really doing. Metters, oh, okay. Lucas, Eubanks, boy, that's an OG list right there. Yep. So, all right. You guys enjoy your Friday. Enjoy the weekend. I will be live tomorrow after the game. Looking forward to it. Probably going to do another XP Wheel of Destiny in Discord for everyone who's there. If you're not there, you need to join. Need to be there. I don't know if Haas is in chat or not. Let me spread the love here. Here you go. Here's the Discord. Good God, get off my screen. Here's the boom. There's the link to Discord if you guys want to join. Oh, Aries, you're so butthurt. All right, woo pick, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, and maybe I'll see some of you in Discord. I'll see you guys later. Woo pick.